Dino, Joon, thanks very much for joining us on the stage here at Sports TV Matters. Very much appreciate your participation on the first part of this event. I mean, let's kick around a few of the subjects about programming, particularly, and localization within the sports TV arena in this part of the world. Joon, you're very much involved with the regional look, with specific localizations in certain markets. Dino, you're very focused on the Philippine market, and as head of sports for ABS-CBN, one of the main terrestrial broadcasters in the Philippines. Now, let's start with a question. Is sport entertainment? Joon, what do you think? Is it entertainment or is it sport?
It has to be entertaining. Yeah, it's an entertainment. Anything on TV has to be entertaining. So I don't know if it's an entertainment, but it has to be entertaining. Otherwise, it has no value.
How do we make sports more entertaining, more appealing to audiences across the region, in countries across Asia, do you think?
We just have to be very good at what we do. So that's what we have to do. I think the era of just securing high-profile sports rights and then just put it on air and put some local commentary and dubbing and expect people to love it, I think it's over. Because people in SEA, in Asia, the audience are demanding higher quality of entertainment value out of their sports offerings. So yeah, we just have to be very good at what we do. I mean, I don't create BPL. I don't create Major League Baseball. I buy them, but my job is not just buying. What we do after we buy them and how we actually deliver those contents to the local audiences is what we do, and that's what we have to be good at.
So you've inherited a variety of channels covering various sports in various regions. How are you going to change things, do you think? Or are you going to change things?
I think it's okay that I just keep talking. Yeah, I think the ESS, the business that we inherited, has done an amazing job. The people, the colleagues who have worked in that company, I think what they have achieved in the region is amazing. It's just that now we're entering a new era of digitalization. Markets are getting more segmented, and people are asking for more than just what used to be provided to them. So, yeah, I have every intention, not just sports, but any product that we have under FIC brand. I have every intention to make sure that we provide absolutely the best and highest quality level of TV broad experience that we can possibly provide.
Dino, let's bring you in. Specifically, your responsibility, as we said, is ABS-CBN in the Philippines. You're a terrestrial broadcaster with cable channels attached. I mean, how do you see sports in the Philippines? Again, it's entertainment, but what is your focus?
Well, I'll have to agree with Joon that sports has to be primarily entertaining. I think if there are two teams playing on the pitch and one obviously is not performing up to par, then certainly you will lose the audience. So therefore, first the conflicts between the teams that are playing in any tourney or any event for that matter, that has to be at a level that is very interesting and exciting for the audience. But let me add to what Joon had said, that I agree as well with the era is a bygone era wherein it's not enough that you have the big talents up there. Because specifically in the Philippines, we have case studies wherein we show a college and university tournament, and we actually get more ratings out of what we do in these leagues than we do on some of the international content that we have. And it's largely because we understand what the audience wants. We understand the personalities behind the teams and the organizations. And I think more and more in these days with connectivity and all, the audience is engaged. You find players tweeting to their fans and vice versa, and all that has changed the landscape. And it's put equitability, if you will, in the quality of local content and global content.
Obviously, basketball is huge in the Philippines. But are you trying to develop other sports as well? Are you seeing that there is an interest in, say, in football growing?
Yes. NBA is by far, if we could call basketball the national sport, we probably would have that passed as a bill. But I think more and more, given that a lot of our audiences see the global arena on many different platforms, specifically the digital platform on the internet, they're becoming more curious about all the other sporting events, and they see that the passion and the engagement and the involvement of the audiences worldwide sort of fuel that same thing. So what we're trying to do is find that unique property that is universal to all sports that will perhaps allow us to engage our audiences into following other sports. Like currently we're pushing boxing. As you know, the Philippines is probably the other center of boxing in all of the world, the other part being Mexico. And we are also pushing volleyball and football of late.
But boxing presumably led by Manny Pacquiao, who's been so
well.
So
Manny Pacquiao's not going to be there forever, so we can't.
So how can you keep it going?
We can't put our bets on him. So what we're doing is there's a whole lot of Filipino boxers. One in particular, another world champion, which probably not a lot of people know, comes at an entry-level weight, Donnie Nietes. He's hardly going to be recognized if he walks through a mall in the Philippines. The first time he visited Mexico, he was mobbed, and the security in Mexico had a problem controlling people because here was a guy. Mexico boxing is the biggest sport. He was Filipino, and he had more fans. He probably had about 1 million fans in Mexico, and nowhere near that in the Philippines.
Wow. Throughout the afternoon, we're going to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you want to ask. So please feel free to yell, interrupt throughout the afternoon. And if you want to hit up Dino or Joon right now for anything, then please stick your hand up and we can pass the microphone out. Joon, in terms of what you guys are doing more locally, obviously Dino's focused specifically on one territory, but in a way you have a challenge because you do have the regional mantle and a lot of global sports, but you have to deliver them in those individual countries and effectively compete with broadcasters like ABS-CBN that are focused on the specific market. How do you deal with that?
I don't want to compete with ABS-CBN. Yeah, I mean, I think things were a lot easier before. You have one operation in Singapore and Hong Kong, and you have a one feed that covers all Asia, and then you just put up some sports and expect all Asians to watch it and enjoy it the way English or Americans do. Are very naive, and I don't think it's gonna work because I don't think anybody cares that much about like what other people care about. So. I think we do have a leverage because we are a regional player, we're international player, we're global players. So there are certain advantages and the assets that we can definitely leverage. But going forward, we cannot just remain as a pan-regional player. I don't even like that word pan-regional because that is so outdated anyways. And this is Asia where every market actually speaks different language, and everybody actually likes different sports. So, yeah, as a regional player, international player, we will continue betting on big, international sports rights. But going forward, we will have to exist as a strong local player because just the audiences in every market just cannot. I don't think they'll be satisfied with this English-based regional, the channels too long. I think there are some channels, niche channels like American football channels maybe, but if you want to be serious in this field, I think you have to be localized. So from one hub operation that we used to have as an ESPN Star Sports, the new Fox Sports Network will start with 4 sports hubs. So we are migrating into a new hub, and we will continue, remaining as a big hub in Singapore, but we are also building a new mini hub in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Philippines, and in India. So Star India will actually take over the sports. So, our plan is not to stop there. Our plan is to be like National Geographic Channel that we have. We have like 12 different feed made for local people, and that is certainly what we would like to have. Of course, I don't think we can ever be like ABS-CBN type of local player in every single market, but I think that's the least thing we can do as a market leader, and also someone who's willing to be very serious about this business. If you don't localize, if you don't exist in local, if you don't care about what local people really want to watch, and instead try to continue to force something that they don't want to watch in the name of pan-regional player, or I know on international rights so much better than you do, I don't think we will have such a bright future.
There is a sense perhaps that under the new regime that there is almost a little bit of a commoditization of sports, though. FIC has done so well in different genres of programming, whether it's movies or entertainment channels or many other genres as well, that now sports is just one of many different genres, and maybe it's no longer something special anymore. Is that a fair criticism, or is that something that you're thinking about, cognizant about, worried about?
Well, first of all, I can confess that after I graduated from my grad school, I applied to ESPN, and then I got rejected. So I have to care a lot about sports. And I go home, and I 80% of the time I watch sports for my own leisure. So
what do you watch?
Personally, my favorite sport is American football. And I'm a biggest NFL fan. I think I personally believe Sunday Night Football is the best quality sports TV that exists today. And it just fascinates me, and I would like to deliver that kind of quality broadcasting in Asia, in my own market someday. But going back to your question, it's a serious matter. We spend dollars to own 100% of this joint venture, and sports is I have to agree, sports is different. It's not different in a way that we don't have to work as hard, because it's all rights matter. So you just pay a lot of money and then you just buy BPL and whatever, then you're done. Then I disagree. But I think sports has some different, that the color, that character that actually distinguishes itself from the rest of the TV, because it's live and it's powerful and it moves people's heart. It's just that maybe you all know, you all agree, but I'm Korean, and I know how sports is big in like US and UK, Australia, Europe, and Latin America. But I tell you, in Asia, I don't know, maybe you don't see it, but when I see the numbers, when I see the time spent by Asians, it's actually not that big. We're big, the players are big, agents are big, channels are big, but what's not big is actual consumption of sports content in Asia is not big, especially for females, for older generations. It's just sports is not a strong and big property. So I just want to make sure that because we're serious about it, and I cannot just ignore the people currently who's not watching sport. I have to have an ownership about the market and help the market grow, in terms of enjoying and knowing how to enjoy and appreciate the value of sports TV. And in order to do that, like I said, we just have to be much better at what we do.
Dino, how does it play out in the Philippines?
I cannot agree with Joon more. I think what was said by Mr. Morgan of HSBC yesterday about brands have to be customized. I think in the world we're in, everything has become suddenly overly fragmentized. And the power of choice is with the audience. And so therefore, especially in Asia, wherein every country is very unique in character and culture, our desires, our motivations for viewing any content for that matter is very different. Like a lot of Filipinos like K-pop and Korean novella, but we can't export our own novellas to Korea. And that's fine. I think the same goes with sports. Whilst we love basketball, and NBA is right up there in terms of content, it's not as if we will not be able to survive on the local content that we are able to deliver for as long as we know the audience. And I think that's what works for us. I come from a brand background because I spent the last 28 years in advertising. And I think ABS-CBN as a network is understanding that for us to be able to engage the audience, we've got to get people who understand, who have been spent half their lives not pushing content, but understanding the needs of those who will actually consume it. So that works well for us because a lot of my colleagues are now moving from the agency side into the network side. And to the point Joon was making about it's not a big audience. Still, he's right in that sense that it's not a big audience for sports. But if we are able to push the right buttons and deliver it exactly to the people who want the content, then I think we're able to optimize. But then this leads me to the question of pricing, because I know what is the right price, and we can't put pricing on a certain standard, perhaps on a tiering, but it takes a lot of understanding a specific market. I will not say anything about Hong Kong or Singapore or Malaysia or Thailand market because I don't know anything about that. But you come to the Philippines and you ask us, it is going to be as unique as those other markets that I work with. Very recently, J-League has approached ABS-CBN to help, provide, provide familiarity for the tournament, because after all, it's an Asian league. We know very well that it's not going to be that easy, especially that we don't get a big audience on football. But I have two sons. They don't like basketball. They're both varsity football players, and I get all my data from them. And they said that, they don't, somebody said that a lot of the viewing hours are not spent by the kids anymore, and that's the future audience. They're not spent anymore on TV broadcasts. They're spent half on broadcast and half on the digital content. But the highlights on free-to-air is big on the kids because it's delivered to them quick, and they know the results, and they know the big scenarios and situations, and they get to know the talent very well. Why are they watching the J-League highlights? Because they know that Kagawa plays in the UEFA. So
that seems to be becoming more and more important, that that local players are playing in overseas leagues in various different sports, and that's really, it's making that emotional connection, it seems, between those players and the local audiences, which actually brings in the big numbers for the global sports.
That's the link that we're trying to connect, because I'm not going to say that we don't. We will not ever want to watch international content. I'd be lying if I'd said that's the reason why people become interested, because that is the high level of achievement for a category like sports. It's like if you're a Korean or a Filipino actor and you make it big in Hollywood, you get nominated for the Oscars. It's the same thing as finding a name on the back of the jersey that says, hey, that's a Korean or a Filipino playing in a club in Europe. So the link is to produce the local content so that it links up to the international content, and everybody understands that this is one big universe of sports, and that's how we make it interesting. And
let's see if anybody has any questions for Joon or Dino. Anybody want to chip in? Any questions? Your opportunity here. Any hands? Anybody want to throw something out there at the front here? Yes. We've got a microphone somewhere, have we? Just hang on a second. Who's got a microphone? Oh, here we go. Just say your name and where you're from, please.
Sure. Hass, Spot 5. I think Joon raised an interesting point about the scale of audience between sport and general entertainment. And Dino was talking about the value of that audience. What is the challenge that you see trying to monetize a smaller, more committed audience rather than a generic entertainment audience that may not be as engaged as sport might be? Or is that the challenge for sport, to be able to identify that? Because entertainment as a platform, not necessarily diluted, but definitely available on multiple audiences, usually distracted, whether it's mobile devices or traditional television, is different to sport, which everybody wants to watch it on the largest possible screen, live with as many friends around them as possible.
I'm going to put that one to Joon. Anybody else going to have a question ready? Because we've only got a short amount of time, so if you do want to have a question, then stick your hand up in a second. Joon, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. Well, it's a challenge because you're right. Sports, maybe over here, the core, the hardcore fans in terms of number is smaller, but they're very passionate. But of course, what we have to do is continue entertaining them, but that's not going to be enough. So what we have to do is actually grow that volume, the size of that hardcore fans, because I don't think we can sustain the kind of growth and kind of business that we want to have by just depending on those royal hardcore fans. Because compared to other continents in Asia, especially in SEA, the number of time spent in watching and number of actual audience and rating and everything reach are a lot smaller than other regions. So, if you watch sports channels in Asia, including my own, so I'm not criticizing others. I know that it can be better. I know that scoreboards can be better. I know the picture quality needs to be better. I know the schedule needs to be better. I know we can work closely with local audiences and local PR agencies, local journalists. There's a gap, right? From where I'm from, right? And I open up my portal. The people are talking about like yesterday's game, and that game is on my channel today, and that kind of excitement interaction is not there. When you go to workplace, people do not talk about what they saw last night, and of course, at the same time, in a lot of markets here, there's not enough strong local plays and local sports that people are engaged in, and also the perception on local sports is a lot lower than international sports. So even if it rates a lot of market, they don't really monetize very well. So I see all kinds of challenges. And to me, that's an opportunity, because if I was in LA thinking about how to improve Fox Sports 1, I'll be drinking every day, because it's in a very mature market, very saturated, not much to do, because you're pretty much fighting in the red ocean. But to me, SEA, when it comes to sports, it's nothing but blue ocean. I see a lot of potentials, a lot of opportunities, but it's not just going to come because market's young and market's growing. Like Dino says, we just have to be much better. I just need to shout out to everybody in TV who are thinking what they already have is good enough. I want to share the news that it isn't, because, like you said, the digital plays. You are a subscriber of Fox Sports, and when you're in Subway, everything's live. You can't just go home and watch catch up because you already know the result by then. And why can't I give them the right to actually catch the game the way they want to? And why do I have to break so much? And why do I have to put a lot of content that's not relevant? Like 10 o'clock in the morning, why do I have to put, when housewives are home, why do I have to put some stuff that people do not want to watch? So all those challenges that we need to overcome, and all I'm saying is I'm not going to do that by being that man sitting in Hong Kong office determining what's good for each market. I just need to develop all this army of programmers and sports experts in every single market we operate, and empower them and take it from there.
Packaging obviously really important for the sports channels. Dino, we're running out of time, but let's just talk quickly about that. You've got a portfolio of terrestrial channel plus cable channels. How do you do the packaging? What's the mix? What's going to work?
What we do at ABS-CBN is we we use all our platforms. Currently, what we've done is we've integrated all the sports content into one group, which is under me. And we use the platforms only as a medium of delivery. So
you have got a fantastic sports channel, which is called?
Balls channel. So we got the balls. And that's our sports channel. But what we do is we customize to what the audience and the advertisers would have appetite for. We know that we don't necessarily have to put football on the free TV channel because that's all entertainment. So we try to find ways by which we can partner with our advertising sponsors, and we create pockets of opportunity for more engagement across our UHF channel or our cable channel or our pay TV channel. And soon we're actually opening up a mobile TV channel as well. So our objective is always to bring the engagement closer to the audience, because in sports, what's unique about it is all the investment is up front, but once you get the audience in it, it sticks a little longer than any entertainment content out there. So perhaps you could be good on entertainment for about 2 seasons or 3. If you get a team following for this, it will be 3 generations of families enjoying exactly the same team. So we look at it with a longer view rather than a short-term view about what are we going to do about our content. Because you're right, entertainment still lords it across Asia. 80% of revenue is on entertainment, and sports just takes a little bit of the loose change.
Final question to both of you. The next 6 or 12 months, give us a couple of things that you may be looking to achieve in that time. We've just got 20 seconds, so very quickly.
Yeah, we're hoping to be a little bit more successful in pushing the sports that our countrymen don't really follow, and we will use all our might. In fact, we're using our entertainment clout. I've asked all the writers in our network, just as a background, just as a quick example, if you're going to feature any sport in the background of any telenovela, please use football in it, because that's the way we engage customers, and they start talking.
So you're trying to cross over to different audiences.
Anything that will look creative and start engaging the audience in a way.
Joon.
As Charlotte and Shilpa say, actually, 20 seconds, I'll tell you, we're working very hard. Early next year, Fox Sports will be reborn. Fox Sports 1 has been launched in US, and we're working very hard to introduce something that no one has ever seen in Asia, and I want to make sure that we change the history of sports TV and regional sports TV. Hopefully in March, February next year, watch out for Fox Sports 1 to 3, because it's going to change the way sports is being provided in Asia. Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much. Joon Lee, Senior VP of Contents and Communications for Fox International Channels, and Dino Laurena, Head of Integrated Sports for ABS-CBN. Thank you very much, guys.